The champions. Not gonna lie, I might get copyright stricken just because that was so accurate. But here we go. The Champions League knockout stages are finally here. I'm gassed. As you can see, the games are literally tomorrow. At least the first games. You know, the playoffs, we don't really count that. This is the real knockout stages. And now I'm going to do my round of 16 predictions. I'm not going to do the entire bracket because then it gets, I'm going to start talking about matchups that might not even end up happening. But I'm just going to do my round of 16 predictions. We're going to do predictions every round when it happens. But because it's the first one, and I'm just going to call my shot early, stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to give you my overall winner prediction and then my dark horse. You're going to see that at the end. But as of right now, let's just talk about the round of 16. First off, I mean, it's only right. Starting on the top, PSG versus Chelsea. You know, Chelsea, my team. If you watch the channel, you know I cover Chelsea. Although, apologies, I did not cover the Wrexham game. I watched it, but I've been cooked by the stomach bug going around New York City, and I could not bring myself to do a video. But that game, hey man, I'm gonna be honest.
I prefer really not to speak.
It wasn't. I wasn't loving that performance. That was spooky. Spooky season. But let's not talk about Wrexham because the most important thing that everyone's talking about in that Wrexham game is the fact that we're resting for PSG. We're preparing for PSG. We put out this lineup because of PSG. So now we got to show up and we got to do something against PSG. The first game here on the 11th is going to be at PSG, the Parc de Prince. Prince, you know, I'm just trying to get my French back. You know, for Chelsea, it's hard for me not to talk about this from a Chelsea perspective as a Chelsea fan. But let me just put it like this: for Chelsea, we just got to go there and get a result. I don't need to see any crazy performance. If we can go to Paris and get a draw, maybe sneak a win, just keep it respectable to bring it back to the bridge. I'm not mad at that. But here's the thing about Chelsea this season: if you happen to be watching this video and you don't watch a lot of Chelsea, the bridge hasn't been much of a fortress this season. Let's be real. We've been going away and bringing the fight to teams. And under Maresca, obviously, you know, we did what we did to PSG in the summer, but that's a long time ago. PSG is a completely different team, and we're a completely different team. Injuries have hit both of these teams in different important ways. It just isn't the same matchup at all. But I still, under Liam Senior, I haven't seen the craziest big game performances until that Aston Villa game, which was massive. But at least for this tie, I'm talking about the entire tie, not just the first leg. I'm low key picking Chelsea. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're gonna say I'm biased or whatever. It's not because I think Chelsea's is way better team, but I just have a feeling we can get a result if we play our strongest 11. We have some good players like people sleep on. Obviously, PSG are amazing, but this isn't the PSG in peak form. I think if anyone's here's the thing with PSG. Here's my real take. If anyone's gonna take out PSG, it's gonna be now in the round of 16 before they really click like they did last year. Once they get a head of steam going, then they become a little bit more spooky. But if we have a good opportunity to catch PSG slacking, and I think we might do it. So I'm going Chelsea for this first matchup. Call me crazy. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Allow me a little bit of bias. I don't think Chelsea's going to win the whole thing. Spoiler. So allow me a little bit of bias. Now, Liverpool, Galatasaray. First game tomorrow, and it's in Turkey. Here's the thing. If Liverpool was home first, I low key would feel more confident. You know, Anfield, they go get a lead, and then even if it becomes a cauldron out in Turkey, at least they just have to be protecting a lead. I low key think, I mean, call me crazy. We'll see tomorrow, and this could age poorly. I low key think Galatasaray can really hit them with something at home. And Galatasaray have been, giving teams fights recently. I low key think Galatasaray can get a lead at home, and then obviously that's not. act like Anfield isn't the 12th man too. That's going to be a fun matchup both ways. But overall, I'm probably going to have to go Liverpool. I just think the quality, even though Galatasaray has a team full of big names, maybe not in their prime or people that didn't cut it in top five leagues, some of them, but a lot of big names on their team. I just think Liverpool have enough, just enough, just enough. But down to Man City versus Real Madrid. I mean, who's surprised? Let's be real. Who's surprised? Someone behind the scenes, pulling the strings. Man City versus Real Madrid at this point, the script. We're gonna be getting this every year. It just happened. This is like it's become Champions League heritage at this point. Man City versus Real Madrid in the late 2010s into the 2020s. But this installment of this matchup, I'm probably going City. It's tough because I don't think either of these teams are at their pomp. It's not like a few years ago where it's like, okay, a crazy City team is facing a crazy Madrid team that are going at it. These teams are both kind of wounded, but I think City are just a little more together right now. They kind of went through their rough patch, and now even though they still drop points here and there, overall I think they've gotten to a stronger spot. Real Madrid, I mean, to be fair, they went through their rough patch, the Xabi Alonso situation, but even under Arbeloa, they're not that convincing. Obviously, Vinny's having a bit of a renaissance, but I wouldn't say they're that convincing still. I think City can take them over two legs. It was in a one-off game. Low key, I might go Madrid, but over two legs, City can play. Here's the thing: Madrid, obviously, they have a bunch of crazy players, and their midfield on paper, the names sound crazy. We always say, "Oh, wow, Madrid have this midfield, all these great players," but actually, in practice, it isn't amazing. And the depth for Madrid with the injuries just isn't what you would think it would be. Versus City, the attacking depth that City have. And we're not just talking names; we're talking about pieces that actually fit together. They can play a completely different front three in the first leg versus the second leg. Like obviously, you're going to want to play Holland in both legs, but they could play Holland, Semenyo, Cherky, which is probably is the best situation. But then the next game, they could pull up with Jeremy Doku on one side and Phil Foden on the other side. Or I mean, I ain't too scared of Foden right now, but like something Savino, even Marmouche can pull up. I mean, it's just crazy amount of attacking options. Obviously, not all on the same quality level, but just they provide different issues to a Madrid defense that isn't super resolute right now. So I'm going City, but that always can go either way. And this one I'm not going to talk too much about. I mean, Atalanta is holding it down for Serie A. Serie A this year in the Champions League, it's not looking good. But I mean, Atalanta, you did well to get this far, but Bayern are just, yeah, they just got too much. They got too much. Over to the other side though, starting with Newcastle, Barcelona. I mean, let me come back to that. Let me go drop down to the bottom because this one's a little more obvious. Arsenal versus Leverkusen. Arsenal should be handling business quite comfortably. Arsenal got blessed with this draw. And to be fair, they finished first. They earned it. But if you look at the draw that just happened in the FA Cup for I think the quarterfinals, hey, Arsenal are getting blessed across the board. It's crazy. It's crazy. But Arsenal should take care of that. Bodo Glimt versus Sporting. I'm not going to pretend like I watched either of these teams a lot, but Bodo Glimt are on a bit of a magical run right now. They're in between seasons. They're just focusing solely on the Champions League, and they're coming out here playing good football, and they're coming to beat teams. Like you see 5-2 against Inter. That's nothing to sniff at. And Sporting, I mean, they've been holding on despite losing, manager, top goal scorer, whatever, over the last season, but I think Bodo Glimt just have something about some momentum with them right now that can take them through to the next round and to run into Arsenal, which we'll talk about if that happens. Next up, Atleti versus Tottenham. Now, here's the thing. Atleti, I'll talk about them a little bit later, but they look interesting right now. I'm not gonna lie. After the addition of Lookman, they look very interesting, and I think they're gonna win this game, win this tie. Here's the thing with Tottenham, though. For some reason, in the Champions League, they're playing way better than the Prem, and I think there's something with their players where I think they think, oh, we're on a Champions League level, where they show up for these games in the Prem. They think this is beneath them or something, but I'm not gonna lie, Tottenham. That table is looking spooky. It's looking spooky. It's rough. And relegation is genuinely on the cards. And I honestly think, as much as Tottenham fans aren't going to like it, it might be coming to the point where you have to sacrifice this Champions League tie and just the Champions League in general to focus on the league. Because Tottenham, with the injuries you guys have had this season, you don't have the room to be playing midweek games against such high level competition and still battling against the Prem when you have other teams in the Prem who are fighting for their lives, knowing this might be their last chance to play in the Prem. Some of these players, where Tottenham players are just thinking, "Hey man, if Tottenham go down, we need to jump ship to another Prem team." It's serious now. It's very serious. And if I'm Tottenham, I mean, basically, do you have to reconcile with? Do you want to potentially win the Champions League but be in the Championship, or do you want to stay in the Prem but sacrifice the Champions League? Now, some people might say, "Whoa, I would love to win the Champions League, even if it means getting relegated." But then you have to think, even on this side of the draw, do you think it's still even realistic to beat Atleti, then potentially Barcelona or Newcastle, then potentially Arsenal, and potentially whoever you face on the other side of the side of death over there? Are you willing to throw away the league for the risk of winning the Champions League, which isn't even a high chance either? Something to think about. Something to think about. But realistically, just with the way their depth is and the fight they really have every weekend in the Premier League right now, I'm going Atleti. And then finally, Newcastle versus Barcelona. Newcastle kind of similar to Tottenham, obviously not nearly as dire a situation, but for some reason they're showing up in Champions League compared to the league. Now, Newcastle, I kind of irks me these days because I was really excited about Voltamata entering the Premier League. He started super exciting at the beginning of the season, and Eddie Howe has turned this guy into a midfielder. I don't know what's going on over there, but just for that, I look, you just want them to lose. Do I think they'll lose? St. James's. I know Barcelona went there and they saw the second coming of Xavi plus Iniesta in one player when Pedri went there earlier this season. But still, St. James's is never easy to go to. Maybe Newcastle can get a result there. I mean, let me see which one's first. I think Newcastle is first at home. Maybe they can get a result. But I just think this second leg at the Camp Nou and the form Lamine Yamal is in right now, who is the best player in the world, especially in the Champions League, I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I think over two legs, one leg, maybe Newcastle can get him at St. James's, but over two legs, I don't see it happening. I think Barcelona is just going to score too many goals. They might concede a lot, but they'll score a lot of goals because this Newcastle defense isn't anything to write home about. So that's my predictions for this first round. Like I said, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Bayern, Arsenal, Bodo Glimt, Atleti, Barcelona. But that's the main prediction. Just quickly, because I'm not doing each round, I just want to get ahead of it now and say my overall winner prediction just so we could reference this at the end of the season. I'm going with Bayern Munich to win the whole thing. Now, hear me out. Do I think Bayern are far and away the best team here? No, definitely not. I think, honestly, this is one of the most interesting knockout stages because I don't think any of these teams are that like far and away better than the rest. I think obviously Arsenal and Bayern separated themselves in the group phases, but we've seen in the leagues in the league that Arsenal aren't anything crazy, and Bayern, I mean, I don't watch a lot of Bundesliga, to be fair, but Bayern don't really scare me like that, if I'm being honest. But they're amazing, obviously. But here's the thing. Here's the main reason, and here's the difference from last year. If you look at PSG, who are obviously the reigning champions, defending champions, they are 1 point clear in their league table. They are in a title race, which you can't always say about Ligue 1. It's not comfortable for them. 1 point, looking spooky. I mean, they'll probably still end up winning their league, but this isn't like last year where they had the league wrapped up, and then while everyone else is fighting for their league, they are slapping teams in the Champions League. PSG have fights on their hand right now. I mean, so do Chelsea right now in our league, so that's why I think that tie is so interesting. Bayern, on the other hand, are 11 points clear in the Bundesliga. When all these other teams, like say they go on to face City, like I said in the second round, they go on to face PSG later on, they go on to face Liverpool or Chelsea later on, even Madrid, who are not top of their league. All these teams are fighting for their leagues or fighting for Champions League positions. Bayern are comfortable, which is for me is the biggest differentiating factor and why PSG won last year, despite also just being the best team, but why Bayern have the best chance to win this year. Arsenal, maybe you would have said after the league phase, Arsenal are the favorites, and probably still are the favorites based on their performances in the Champions League, but they're in a title race. I know they're 7 points clear right now, but City have a game in hand. They still have to play at the Etihad. They still have the Carabao Cup against City, which will be massive for the season. It's not that simple for Arsenal. Bayern, it's wraps. They're gonna win the Bundesliga. I mean, the Bundesliga. I'm gonna be honest. We're not gassing this league, bro. We're not gassing this league. Dortmund is supposed to be this big team. They're barely even putting up a fight. Let's be real. So Bayern are my pick to win the entire Champions League. But they're sneaky, is Atleti. Atletico Madrid, hear me out. They're on the weaker side of the draw. Obviously, they have to potentially face Barcelona if my predictions are correct. But they just beat Barcelona over 2 legs in the Copa del Rey. Now, maybe Barcelona figured them out in the second leg, beating them 3-0, potentially. But once they've got Lookman, they've been scoring goals. They've been scoring a lot of goals recently. That's one. And two, they're out of this league title race. Maybe they think they're still in it, but 13 points off the top, Barcelona, it's wraps for you. So they're really only focusing. I mean, after the Copa del Rey is over, they're really only focusing on the league. I mean, on the Champions League. That's sneaky. Barcelona are still having Madrid on their heels as they face each other in the next round. Atleti will be focused and uh, putting focus on the Champions League compared to the league. I think that's sneaky, and it'll be similar if they face Arsenal later or something like that. It'll be sneaky, but overall, I'm going Bayern to win it. Atleti, my dark horse. But this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Champions League is back. I'm looking forward to it. Like, subscribe, all that good algorithm stuff would be much appreciated as always. I'm trying to reach 10 subscribers, the road to 10 subscribers. I'm one away. So please, someone, you could be the 10th subscriber. And tomorrow, Newcastle, Barcelona, I'm probably going to be watching that game specifically. And then the day after that, Chelsea, PSG, video out on that for sure. I may do a Newcastle, Barcelona video, but I'll definitely be doing a Chelsea, PSG video. Look out for that. The stomach bug, hopefully I'll be over it soon, but I had to get a video out. We're keeping it going. Appreciate you guys as always. See you next time. Peace.